Welcome to John Martin Talks, where we battle ignorance and apathy daily. The growing ignorance of just how special this experiment we call the United States of America, and the apathy that we can't or won't do anything and everything to save her. Well, ladies and gentlemen, got great news for you. If you're waiting on the weekend, it is finally here. Yes, the weekend's here, and as soon as this show is over, man, I am bolting out the door and heading for the fishing grounds. Of course, there is a storm a-brewing in the western Gulf of Mexico. It's not supposed to impact my area too much, other than maybe a little higher seas than normal. But those of you along the Texas coast and potentially going up into New Orleans, maybe even as a tropical storm, it's now a depression. Our thoughts and prayers go with you, and hopefully it won't be too bad. But we got a great show for you today. I got some topics that I think kind of blend in together here. We're going to start with the poll that's out now. A poll has come out, and Democrats, at least almost half, but an increasing number of Democrats actually believe that our country is heading in the right direction morally. Now, I know that sounds pretty flabbergasting, and we'll get into it more in just a minute, but that's what the polling is showing. Then we got Mayor Lori Lightfoot, the Chicago mayor. She's joined this crowd, no surprise. Blame America first, basically. She is saying that the deaths that are happening in Chicago, literally at record levels, are America's problem and America's fault. She didn't have really anything to do with it. We'll talk about that. And the Democrats now, if we hopefully have time for this one, the Democrats want to eat their own. They want to cancel a Supreme Court Justice, Breyer, that was appointed under the Clintons. They want him off the Supreme Court so that they can put in a younger, more liberal person. We'll get into that. But before we go any further, we always have to talk about our sponsors. Look at the video, no matter when or where you're watching it. Look above the video and you will see links to our sponsors. Top of that list is BDU, Big Daddy Unlimited, where you will get factory direct pricing if you follow the directions on guns, ammunition, tactical gear, swag even, protective wear, survival gear, anything that is remotely connected to the Second Amendment, especially guns and ammo. You will get them delivered directly to your door at factory direct pricing. And if you want to know just how great the pricing is, I got good news for you. Look before our show comes on. It's taped by now. At 10 o'clock Eastern across the John Martin Facebook channel, and excluded, drop the E and put the big X up there, excluded our Facebook channel there. You will see Denny's Deals, 10 o'clock Eastern time. It's about a 10 or 15 minute show. What Denny does is he takes one item, like a box of ammunition, or one item like a particular gun or something, and he shows you the pricing you would get, shows you three pricing. He shows you the manufacturer's suggested retail price, he shows you the average of the internet price, and he shows you what you would save if you were a member of Big Daddy Unlimited through John Martin Talks, and you will be amazed at the difference. So check it out, Denny's Deals. Then we got PatriotThreads.org, apparel with a purpose. I often rock some of their gear on here. They are a total fulfillment center. What that means is that if you have a charity event, like a golf tournament, let's say, fishing tournament, and you want to produce a commemorative t-shirt with an American theme, made in America, and you want proceeds to go to a charity of your choice, go to PatriotThreads.org. They can help you, as the old salty dog says, from stem to stern. Most important thing is remember the initials of our show, JMT, and you will get 20% off. Check that out. Then we have Recoil TV. Recoil TV is all about the Second Amendment. We are honored to have a channel within their channel. So we have our own YouTube channel, John Martin Talks, spell it all the way out. Good morning, YouTubers. Howdy, how are you? But Recoil TV produces high quality, high production value videos that demonstrate the latest guns, anything to do with the Second Amendment. They demonstrate them on their video. Check them out. What we have is a channel within their channel. We are archived there on a daily basis, and we're honored to be so. All right, let's get into the meat and potatoes of the show here, ladies and gentlemen. This comes to you via Breitbart, but it is about some polling that has just come out. report. Under Biden, Republicans mostly discussed U.S. moral values, Democrat optimism at an all-time high. So apparently we have a very different moral compass, if you will, between what's happening with the Democrats, what's happening with the Republicans, and where they see us heading. The Republicans essentially think we're heading to hell in a handbasket, and the Democrats, not even half, but a rising number of them, actually think that Biden is the Pied Piper, so to speak, to lead us to the moral promised land. At least that's what it sounds to me like. Let's get into the details here because they're pretty strange. Under the transfer of power to the Biden administration in 2021, public opinion about the state of moral values in the U.S. has hit all-time lows and all-time highs along party lines. We're about as divided. I mean, could we be more divided? So we've hit an all-time low, Republicans, on what they think the moral values of our current country are. And we hit an all-time high with the Democrats, with the same thing happening. So I guess that's it. But it's not really all that surprising. Listen to these results. Democrats are much less negative about the moral values today than they were a year ago. Well, I guess the old bad orange man, Donald J. Trump, is gone, and Joe Aviator Biden, that gives out the 16 places, as I said yesterday. If you hadn't seen our show from yesterday, you need to check it out, because Biden gave Putin 16 unhackables, if you will. The unhackables, they're not even a word for that. I kind of created it, but areas where we're not supposed to be hacked, that are off limits to hacking. This is how idiotic we have become. And so no wonder, if we're idiot enough to think that's a good idea, then perhaps we're idiotic to think we're moving in the right moral direction. It says, conversely, Republican views of U.S. moral values have sunk to record lows, according to the study, which was based on a poll conducted between May 3rd and the 18th of 2021, this year. Well, ladies and gentlemen, maybe I want to play a video. I've played it before, and I got to tell you, every time I play it, I'll try to remain calm, but every time I play it, it just upsets me. It probably will again, so I'm giving you a fair warning about this. This is Joe Biden at a town hall CNN meeting, I guess about 3 months ago now, where he talks about the cultural differences between the United States and China. And if you really listen to what he's talking about here, he's talking about the Uyghur Muslims who are literally being devastated, literally have their organs taken out by the Chinese. He's talking about Hong Kong, where people are literally putting their lives on the line for freedom. And he's talking about Taiwan, that is the only democracy there. The Democrats always talk about protecting democracy in the region over there, and under constant threat, increasing daily since this video came out. But this is Joe Biden basically saying, it's not really that much difference between us. Check it out.
Chinese leaders, if you know anything about Chinese history, it has always been the time when China has been victimized by the outer world is when they haven't been unified at home. So vastly overstated, the central principle of Xi Jinping is that there must be a united, tightly controlled China. And he uses his rationale for the things he does based on that. I point out to him, no American president can be sustained as a president if he doesn't reflect the values of the United States. And so the idea, I'm not going to speak out against what he's doing in Hong Kong, what he's doing with the Uyghurs in western mountains of China, and Taiwan trying to end the one China policy by making it forceful. I said, and by the he said he gets it. Culturally, there are different norms at each country, and their leaders are expected to follow.
Ladies and gentlemen, as I told you, every time I hear that, it pisses me off, and it really pisses me off in the context of this story. Because think about it. He's saying that the only difference between the way a president of the United States governs and the way a Chinese president governs is the cultural norms are different. So he's saying, and I still have a hard time believing this part right here, because to me, there's a difference between the Chinese people and the Communist Party of China, which is what Xing represents. The Communist Chinese Party is just evil. It really is. I have a hard time believing that the rank and file Chinese people are okay with harvesting people's organs like the Uyghurs, are okay with sticking electrical prods up women's feminine parts like they're doing in China with the Uyghur Muslims. I have a hard time believing that the average Chinese person is actually okay with that. They may not know what is actually happening, but they're okay with that. Of course, LeBron James is okay with that. He's come out and said, we got to respect their, freedom of speech, man, can be overrated, overused, and all that kind of stuff. They know what's happening. But cultural norms, let me just tell you, ladies and gentlemen, before we go any further, if you think it's okay, that it's just a cultural norm difference, if your value system, your moral system says it's okay to persecute dissidents in Hong Kong, that it's okay to scare Chinese people in Taiwan by just flying over jets over them, let alone what they're doing to the Uyghur Muslim, that's okay? That's morally okay with you? Then we probably don't have a heck of a lot to talk about. We don't. And Biden seems to be okay with that. So if you believe that guy that I just showed you is leading us down the proper moral highway, I'm not saying Donald Trump is. Okay, I'm just going to make this point later. I don't look at the presidency for my moral guidance. I got to tell you, I don't look at the athletic department at the University of Florida. That's a separate issue from my moral guidance. They issue these letters telling us how to behave at football games. And I don't look at the president. Maybe we should, but when was the last time we had a president where you looked at and said, boy, that guy is the moral paragon? It might have been Jimmy Carter. And what happened with Jimmy Carter? He's the worst president we've had in my lifetime. Even the Democrats pull away from Jimmy Carter. Jimmy Carter was a very moral, he may be one of the finest people that has ever occupied 1600 Pennsylvania. But he was lousy as a president. Maybe it's because I grew up under Nixon. I haven't looked at the presidency for my moral guidance ever. And I would suggest you don't as well. That is not to excuse them and not to say that we don't need moral people in the office. I'm just saying that's not where I personally look for my moral guidance. I personally look for my, family and people like that. But cultural norm, it just irritates me. That is the guy that is leading us to the moral promised land. I just have a hard time accepting that. Republicans' opinion of moral values is lower than it has been in 2 decades. I don't doubt it. With 66% rating the country's values as poor. So we're heading in the wrong direction, according to the study. Overall, 92%, these are Republicans, say moral values are getting worse, which tops the 90% recorded in 2007. So Republicans, I guess I shouldn't be surprised, agree with me, man. We are losing the cultural war. I've been telling you that for a while. We're losing the cultural war. Let me ask you this, ladies and gentlemen. Can you show me where we have improved morally? I mean, we're losing the cultural war when a governor of a great state like Virginia can say this about a baby that is breathing outside of the mother's womb. Check it out.
Whether her bill would permit an abortion, even as a woman is essentially dilating, ready to give birth. And she answered that it would permit an abortion at that stage of labor. Do you support her measure and explain her answer?
Yeah, and I wasn't there, Julie, and I certainly can't speak for Delegate Tran, but I will tell you first thing I would say is this is why decisions such as this should be made by providers, physicians, and the mothers and fathers that are involved. There are, when we talk about third trimester abortions, these are done with the consent of obviously the mother, with the consent of the physicians, more than one physician, by the way. And it's done in cases where there may be severe deformities, there may be a fetus that's non-viable. So in this particular example, if a mother is in labor, I can tell you exactly what would happen. The infant would be delivered. The infant would be kept comfortable. The infant would be resuscitated if that's what the mother and the family desired. And then a discussion would ensue between the physicians and the mother. So I think this was really blown out of proportion.
That's good enough.
But again,
a discussion. So understand this, ladies and gentlemen. What he's talking about there, and he ate those into form. The reality is you can now have an abortion, as the late, great Rush Limbaugh used to say, in the 4th trimester. In other words, when the baby's born. He's saying the baby is outside of the mother, so it's been born. And then there's where baby's made comfortable. Well, God bless you for that. And then there is a discussion. A discussion. Do you understand what they're saying there? A discussion about keeping the baby alive or off with its head. And maybe trade it for a Ferrari, baby parts for car parts. I mean, what discussion is there? We're not even talking about whether you're pro-life or pro-abortion or whatever. We're talking about a breathing human being that the minute it is born, I would maintain, has certain inalienable rights. And among them, the right to life, liberty, not the guarantee, but the pursuit of happiness from the day you're born. It doesn't say whether you're an hour old, 10 minutes old, or 40 years old. The Constitution applies to living, breathing American citizens, period. So I don't care which side of the abortion issue you're on. It's irrelevant to me for this discussion. How can you have a discussion about whether or not the baby should be killed or let it live? I don't understand that. So if you're down with that, if let's just say that you are pro-abortion, are you really down with having a discussion about whether or not to terminate a living, breathing person that's right there, that they've made comfortable? I mean, if you're okay with that, it's different. No wonder we're so far apart. Because I've come up, I'm not going to I didn't mean to get too deep into abortion, but it just chills me to the bone to think about you could actually have a conversation about that. I don't get it. I just don't get it. Before a notable spike during Biden's presidency, I got to move on because it just, Republican opinion about the country's moral compass was steadily worsening. In fact, there was no comparable surge in concern following the transfer of presidential leadership from Republican to Democratic control in 2009, nor a decrease when Trump replaced Barack Obama in 2017, according to the study. Well, I got an opinion or a theory as to why that is. It's an opinionated fact, probably. Republicans live a bit closer to the reality of the situation. The Democrats live in this nirvana deal, like everybody, like we could give a list. I keep going back to this idiocy of yesterday. We could give a list to Putin of our 16 most critical sites and say, oh, by the way, these are the things we value the most. Don't touch them. I mean, that kind of thing just gets me. But Republicans live closer to reality because, well, let's just play this next video and we'll talk about it. Check it out. I think you get the idea. You've seen that one or two times. That's the McCloskeys, by the way. He's running for Senate out there. I hope you'll support him out there. I've already given him my de facto endorsement, man. But McCloskey, she probably has more cojones than he had because he actually had a real weapon when it was loaded. That little 38 she had was a prop pistol. But she's out there defending her life, liberty, even her puppy dog. She's out there defending. But here's the point I want to make. When your moral compass is such that those two people in that picture, the McCloskeys, are the criminals in that picture. Yeah, that's right. They're the ones that the police came to arrest. They were charged. The people who bum rushed their neighborhood, knocked down their gate, and threatened their very lives, none of them were arrested. But the McCloskeys, for defending their own home, were arrested. Now, I'm sorry, ladies and gentlemen, but we do live in the United States of America still, barely sometimes. And you have a God-given inalienable right under the Second Amendment to defend yourself, your property, and your family. And I've told you many times, but if I say it, it bears repeating. If you're new to the show, maybe you need to hear this. I actually would carry it a step further. I think, because you hear the Democrats and progressives talking about this all the time, a human right. I think it's a basic human right to defend yourself, your family, and your possessions, especially your home, from harm. But I know a lot of places, like China, for instance, you can't do that. That's why people are trying to get here, because they believe in that, man. So, yeah, we're losing the cultural wars when the McCloskeys are the criminals in that picture. We're losing. And no wonder this polling is good. But the Democrats apparently think that's okay. In stark contrast, Democrats are exhibiting, back to this story about this polling, in stark contrast, Democrats are exhibiting record high optimism about the direction of moral values. I guess there's good news in this. 46% say they are improving. 46% of the Democrats say we are moving in the right or improving direction morally as a nation. Where's the evidence? Cite evidence to me. They don't cite any of that. But the study reads, noting that 49% of Democrats, slightly under half, still say things are getting worse. Hallelujah. There is hope. Although the Democratic Party seems to be moving in the wrong direction, there is hope. Now, I played this the other day, but I think it certainly is worth playing, because this is a woman going before the school board in Virginia, telling them about this critical race theory and how dangerous it is to our children. Check it out.
In the words of Martin Luther King Jr., I have a dream that my 4 little children will one day live in a nation where they will not be judged by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character. Now I have a dream that we will implement love, not hate, or supporting another Jim Crow's agenda. CRT is not an honest dialogue. It is a tactic that was used by Hitler and the Ku Klux Klan on slavery very many years ago to dumb down my ancestors, so we could not think for ourselves. CRT is racist. It is abusive. It discriminates against one's color. Let me educate you. An honest dialogue does not oppress. An honest dialogue does not implement hatred or injustice. It's to communicate without deceiving people. Today, we don't need your agreement. We want action and a backbone for what we asked for today, to ban CRT. We don't want your political advertisement to divide our children or belittle them. Think twice before you indoctrinate such racist theories. You cannot tell me what is or is not racist. Look at me. I had to come down here today to tell you to your face that we are coming together and we are strong. This will not be the last. Greet and meet respectfully.
Amen, man. When I see stuff like that, because it's easy to get hopeless sometimes. But when I see a video like that, I say amen to that. I mean, she's rising up. She is showing the way there. It's just unbelievable when you look at that. And we gotta have hope, man. We gotta have hope. But things getting worse. Think about what she's saying in that. She's talking about our children being taught the opposite of Dr. King's dream. That character is not what matters. It only matters the color of your skin. That's all that matters. I mean, it's hard to fathom that is the opposite. Because I remember when Dr. King, I mean, you talk about a man of courage and high moral conviction. Now, yeah, he had his issues. Because we're human beings, we fall short of the glory. There's a little book we used to read. Maybe we ought to get back to it that talks about that. But Dr. King said he had a dream that we'd judge people, his children, by the content of their character rather than the color of their skin. Where's that dream right now? It seems to be dying on the vine. And that is a crying shame. I don't see how you can say that Dr. King's dream is actually dying, and that means we're moving in the right direction. I just don't get it. Gallup has been collecting data, that's who did the polling here, collecting data on the public opinion of moral values in the U.S. since 2002, which they noted was worsened overall since the start of their reporting. I would agree with that. Americans have long been dismayed by the state of moral values in the country. Less than a third of Democrats and even fewer Republicans have considered U.S. moral values excellent or good since 2002. But now they're improving. That's what I don't get. if this polling is correct and the Democrats are actually moving, even though it's not the majority, it's close to 50-50, are saying that we're moving in the right direction morally, it's troubling, man. Maybe I'm wrong. It just seems troubling. But it says good since 2002, and pessimism about the direction of morals outpaces optimism among both groups. Well, let me tell you one of the problems that's happening. And this lady that addressed the school board, she's addressing this. Our public school system has literally been destroyed. Literally been destroyed. I mean, for every measurement, and I'm not opposed to public schooling at all. I'm not one of these, and I believe that government schooling, was a good idea to start with. But there's a reason why about half the school teachers now, especially in certain districts, send their kids to private school. Do you realize that I saw this a month or so ago, up in Philadelphia, like 44% of the public school teachers in Philadelphia send their kids to private school. What does that tell you about the state of our public schools? But they have destroyed our public schools. And yeah, you could say, oh, it goes back to prayer in school. And I don't have I can't argue with you on that. But clearly our moral compass in public schools has been destroyed. Take religion out of it for just a second. Now, I don't think you should, but I'm just saying. The fact that we teach that America sucks now, I mean, that's the new mantra of the Democratic Party, the leaders of the Democratic Party, the America Sucks plan. America sucks. It's always sucked. It sucks for some more than others. And if you elect us, then we'll make it suck for everybody equally. That seems to be the thing. So when you're taught in government schools not to be proud of your country, I mean, what do you expect to happen? Do you expect our morals and our support for our own nation to go up? I mean, we're not perfect, but by God, we're the best thing going. Even with all of our problems, we're still the best thing going, because I believe that we still in this country have the right to life, liberty, and the pursuit, as I always throw in, not the guarantee of happiness. That is still flickering in this country right now. But the left is trying to destroy it, no doubt about it. And I don't see how that's an improvement, but that's just me. National perceptions on both aspects of U.S. values are fairly steadily compared with a year ago, but partisan shifts suggest that transfer of power in Washington has had a stronger than usual effect on how partisans perceive the country. Maybe that's part of Trump arrangement syndrome, country's moral compass. With Democrats now the most optimistic, this is what's frightening to me. Democrats now the most optimistic they have been in 2 decades, and Republicans the least. Well, I think part of that is because we've been looking at, like the old song, looking for love in all the wrong places. We've been looking for moral guidance in all the wrong places. I've been telling you all along, we don't need to be looking. I mean, Charles Barkley is right. We don't need to look at sports figures for our moral, role models. We don't need to. We used to look at school teachers. I don't know about now. I don't think we should ever really been looking at politicians. We should be looking at the people in our lives. Now, who I really feel sorry for are people that don't have those kind of people in their lives. I've told you this before, that, my history, my own personal history, if you're new to the show, this may be shocking to you. I've been clean and sober since 1988. I don't say that to brag. It's God's grace. God's grace, okay? Which is a whole lot the best way to live. Let me just tell you that. I've been down some dark paths, most of them self-inflicted. It's all about God's grace. But I realized that when I got clean and sober, I was very fortunate that I had a very strong foundation to fall back on with my parents, my church, all that kind of stuff, my support groups of people. I had a strong foundation. I realized that not everyone has that. Not everyone has a foundation. They fall back and there ain't nothing there. Believe me, it's the loving hands of God, God's grace. And I'm not trying to get preachy on you, but I just realized that. I'm so grateful for the foundation that was laid. But I can tell people, I tell you this, if you don't have a foundation, I'm not necessarily trying to tell you where to get one, but I know where you're not going to get one from politicians, from presidents. Don't look there. Look to the people that are preaching, that are living, that are walking the right way. There are people in every neighborhood, even the worst of them. and seek that out. Seek out people who have been successful, who actually are living the type of life free of, bondage in that sense. Look for those. And, if you want to personal message me or something, if I can help you, I certainly will. President Biden has often used the word unity when expressing his goals for the United States. And he said in his inaugural speech that we must end this uncivil war that pits red against blue, rural against urban, conservative versus liberal, he said. We can do this if we open our souls instead of hardening our hearts. If only. If those are great words, and people can say some great words. My thing to Mr. Biden, sir, and it's not just my opinion, I'm about to show proof. If only you practice what you preached, but you don't. I'm going to show you some back-to-back videos here that show you that Biden does not practice what he preaches. Listen to this first one. This is when he was running for office, and he's talking about the American people. And he doesn't distinguish between color. He's talking about the American people. Check it out.
There are probably anywhere from 10 to 15% of the people out there that are just not very good people. But that's not who we are. The vast majority of the people are decent. We have to appeal to that, and we have to unite.
That's good enough. Unite people. 10 to 15% of the American people are just bad. Just bad. He didn't say, it's not like the 1990 crime bill when he said, I don't care why your children are out there and talking about black children. I don't care. We just need to get them thugs off the street. That's basically what he said in 1990. But 15% of the American people are simply bad. This coming now from a president now. He want to be, but now, God help us, President of the United States. Do the math on that. It's basically about the number of people that supported Donald Trump. Now, you can draw your own conclusions of that. But this is one of the foulest things that I have heard a president ever say, and I play this all the time because there's so much meaning to what he says in this. This is why I think he's closer to Vladimir Putin than, let's call a Democrat, Jimmy Carter, or even Bill Clinton. Listen to what Joe Biden said to a joint session of Congress about some of our most sacred words. Check it out.
The Constitution opens with the words, as trite as it sounds, we the people. Well, it's time to remember that we the people are the government.
Oh my God. That's one reason, if you don't understand the impact of those words, that is why, and I'm not trying to beat you down, but that's why I battle ignorance and apathy. Ignorance, by the way, just means you don't know something. You're just ignorant about something. The best example is, if you don't know how to read, you're ignorant in reading. You don't know how to read. If you don't know how to read and you don't care, then you've jumped to stupid. And apathy means you just don't give a hoot one way or another. And so I'm battling that every day, because you got to understand, when he says that we, the people, is the government, that is the destruction of everything this country. That is literally taking a jackhammer to the foundation of this nation. Now, you may think that's a good thing, depending on how you're polling, I suppose. But it is the end of this nation as we know it, if we, the people, is the government. Because we, the people, are the people that give permission, whether we like it now or not, to be governed by the likes of Joe Biden. We give permission to be governed. That we don't ask the government to govern us. We give permission for them. It's about protecting life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness for the individual, is to stop the overreach of a bloated big federal government. That's what the foundation is. So when I know I play that clip a lot, but it is so disturbing to hear a president actually say that. All right, so, the bottom line, ladies and gentlemen, if we're losing this cultural war, and it seems like the Democrats, maybe it's an infection of Trump derangement syndrome. I can't possibly believe that Joe Biden is really this guiding light. If he's a guide anything, he's an empty thing. But anyway, all right, let's move along to another guiding light here. Let me check my time, doing pretty good. This is Lori Lightfoot. This is a Washington Examiner. Lightfoot, the mayor of Chicago, calls for federal gun control in response to another bloody Chicago weekend. This lady, man, that's probably not fair, but it is funny. Who wore it better, Beetlejuice or Lori Lightfoot? And that's not a made-up picture of her. That's her. That's a good look for her. I've seen a few where she's out there and she literally looks like Beetlejuice. But let's get into this story here. This is a national problem, Lightfoot said in response to an incident in Chicago Tuesday that saw 8 people shot, leaving 4 of them dead. She's part of the Blame America crowd, but you shouldn't be surprised because, you know, Chicago, as we found out during the Obama administration and campaign, is kind of the epicenter of Blame America. Remember this short video clip?
No, no, no. Not God bless America. God damn America. That's in the Bible for killing innocent people. God damn America.
That's Reverend Wright. That's who Barack Obama, I think it was like 18 years, I want to say, don't hold me to that, but it was over a decade that he sat. He claimed himself that he was in church every Sunday listening to Reverend Wright. I don't know that he was necessarily there on that particular day. But that guy is saying GD America, right? He's saying, and maybe he's on to something because he's talking about the killing of innocent people. Well, you know, maybe he should have a conversation with Governor Northam about making that baby comfortable thing, man. But, you know, it's just crazy what is happening in Chicago. But maybe he's damning Chicago. I don't know. I don't believe in that myself. I don't believe in cursing myself. And I'm not talking about cursing the language. I don't believe Chicago is cursed. I believe it is poorly governed. That's what I believe. But Lightfoot said that many of the shooting cases in the city are due to illegal guns, a problem she said is not unique to Chicago. Illegal guns. So think about the very statement. She's saying that the guns being used in these killings are illegal guns. And Chicago has some of the toughest gun laws there is. So if true, to use the Democratic phrase, if true that the guns that are doing all this killing are illegal, how do more laws help the situation? Because the lawless are lawless because guess what? They don't obey the law. I mean, some of this stuff, but I guess facts just don't matter to these people. You know, what did Biden say? We believe in truth over fact or something like that. And like my old buddy Ward Scott, we used to do a show together. He does a local one here. It's all about feelings, nothing more than feeling. I mean, that's the difference. It's all about the feeling. The facts are irrelevant. So they feel that somehow having a big, broad government gun control is going to solve the problem of illegal guns in Chicago. But Mayor Lightfoot went on to say, she's got 2 years, by the way, left on her term. And I found out by listening on the show last night, I want to give, I think, Tucker Carlson credit for it, that in Chicago, and they had a Democratic alderman on his show just bashing the heck out of her. He said that there is no recall or, there's no way really to get rid of her if she wants to and keep her term. And she got 2 years left. I pity you in Chicago. No wonder they're getting the heck out. But this is what she said. What we will likely learn as the details become clearer is that illegal guns continue to plague us. Gun violence continues to have a deep, painful history in our city. Unfortunately, Chicago is not unique. I would agree with that. We are part of a club of cities, she says, for which no one wants to belong, cities with mass shootings. I would carry that a step further because there are cities which no one seems to want to belong to, and then guess what they have in common? They're all governed by Democrats, man. But Lightfoot went on to say, cities individually cannot tackle this problem. We just cannot. In Chicago, we've done absolutely everything. So Chicago's done everything to curb, everything possible to curb mass shootings and violence there. She said, and we need help from the federal government when guns are so porous that they can come across. You notice the difference between what she said and like Governor Abbott we talked about yesterday? He's saying, well, if federals aren't going to do it, we're going to protect ourselves. Like America's governor, Ron DeSantis, he says the federal government's dropping the ball, so we gonna do it. Lightfoot says we can't do it, we got to have the feds. There's a difference in there somewhere. But she said, and we know that we have to have a multi-jurisdictional national solution to this horrible plague of gun violence. And so she's saying they've done absolutely everything Absolutely everything. I want to play you a video of the Chicago Police Department under attack by the armed wing of the Democratic Party, Antifa, and Black Lives Matter. Check this out in broad daylight in one of the greatest cities, or at least it used to be, in the world. Check it out.
Police video captured a violent attack on officers who were protecting the statue of Christopher Columbus during a protest Friday night in Grant Park.
What began as a peaceful protest at Grant Park Friday evening devolved into a very dangerous situation in which mob action deliberately sought to injure officers.
The mayor decried the violence, calling those responsible vigilantes. The police video showed one person dumping out a backpack with what appeared to be frozen water bottles, which were then thrown at officers. Demonstrators also hurled fireworks, one sergeant suffering a broken eye socket from the shrapnel.
I think that's good enough. I think you get the point. The Chicago police are under attack, literally in broad daylight, and nothing was done about it. I don't know that any of those people were arrested. I mean, they're up there. Did she denounced it up to a point? Did she call out the groups specifically that were instigating that, Antifa and Black Lives Matter? Did she call them out? I don't know. And then I want to play you this video. This is from a young lady that actually represents Black Lives Matter at a local level. And what I'm saying to you, ladies and gentlemen, I want to make this clear. I'm not talking about everybody who's ever worn a t-shirt or something that said Black Lives Matter. I'm talking about the organization fundamentally is a Marxist communist organization by their own admission. Listen to what this young lady says, and she's saying it in front of a police precinct in broad daylight in downtown Chicago after that Miracle Mile had been ransacked in Chicago. People just driving cars in there and taking Gucci's or whatever they want. Listen to what she says about what she and others like her owed. Check it out.
I don't care if somebody decides to loot a Gucci or a Macy's or a Nike, because that makes sure that that person eats. That makes sure that that person has clothes. That's reparations. That is reparations. Anything they want to take it, because these businesses have insurance. They're going to get their money back. My people aren't getting anything.
Ladies and gentlemen, what I want to know is, did Miss Lightfoot denounce that? I mean, she should, if she really were a true leader, and we talk about morals in the previous article, she would find that young woman and be a mentor to her and tell her just how wrong she is and try to lead her in a different direction. I would be surprised if Lori Lightfoot didn't put her up for promotion somehow, man. But did she denounce this? Did she denounce this behavior? Call it out specifically? No, not a peep, man. All she's doing is joining the Blame America crowd. So the problems in Chicago have nothing to do with the Democratic leadership that's been there forever and a day. Nothing to do with that. It is law-abiding citizens that need their guns taken away to stop the illegal flow from people who just can't seem to help themselves breaking the law. It makes no sense. It's part of the Blame America First, which is the Democratic Party's theme now. Blame America, and I'm sick of it. I'm sick of it, and I'm not going to take it. I'm going to call it out. Unlike Miss Lightfoot, I'm going to call it out everywhere I see it. I don't care about the political consequences, because I can't live with myself if I don't do it. And I wonder how in the world she sleeps at night. Perhaps maybe she doesn't. That's why she's like Beetlejuice. I don't know. All right, we got a couple minutes left. I want to get into this quick story because it's the Democrats trying to eat one of their own. I don't know if you've been following this. This is an AFP story. Breyer retire. We're talking about Justice Breyer. Political storm forms around U.S. Chief Justice. Pressure on U.S. Chief Justice Stephen Breyer. He's a progressive, or he's a liberal, by the way. He's appointed by Bill Clinton. Pressure on U.S. Chief Justice Stephen Breyer to retire is growing. Progressive Democrats are anxiously eyeing his seat. Now, his voting record is pretty much liberal. They're anxiously eyeing his seat. Republicans have laid down the gauntlet, and issues from abortion to voting rights could all be at stake. Why? Why are they at stake? I mean, he's been up there. He hasn't voted against Roe versus Wade. This guy has voted with the liberal slate of the court his whole career. I mean, there may be some exceptions, but okay. Let me tell you, what the Democrats are afraid of, they're not afraid of how he's going to rule. They're afraid that they're going to lose power. Donald Trump, yeah, we miss you, buddy, that he might actually come in. Breyer kicks the bucket or decides to retire, and Trump gets another shot, man. That's what they're terrified of. Or maybe America's governor, Ron DeSantis, gets a shot. That's what they're terrified of. Top Senate Republican Mitch McConnell turned up the heat Monday when he said his party would block anyone nominated to the Supreme Court by Democratic President Joe Biden if Republicans can gain control of the Senate in 2022. So Mitch, I don't care for Mitch much. People love this meme, by the way. People ask me to send it to them. You should be able to cut and paste it from the site. But Mitch is good for one thing, and that is judges. He's been pretty solid on that. The next presidential election is not until November 2024, but what happened, McConnell was asked if a seat opened up in 2023. He said theoretically plenty of time for Americans to go to the polls. Now, Billy Bob, he's my psychic sidekick. As I tell you, we're going to stay in the public square. He's got a Twitter handle. It's at Billy Bob Bass, and mine is at John Martin Talks. He says that we have a response from Justice Breyer about whether or not he should pull the plug. I don't know if you like, I'm a Monty Python fan. I'm dating myself. I'm not dead yet. I mean, they're talking all this about Breyer like he's like on life support right now. I mean, what is this dude supposed to do? Just say, okay, come get me. I mean, it's just crazy, man. But Biden has promised that if he can, he will appoint a black woman to the high court. He's already come out and said that he's going to appoint a black woman. How ridiculous is that? Now, I'm not saying anything about a black woman being on the high court. Heck, I wish Candace Owens was on there right now. I don't care about all that. I want the best competent person to be there. But to come out and say that you're going, I talk about Martin Luther King's dream being dead. So your only qualification, according to the current, God help us, President of the United States, is that you are black and female. So the color of your skin and your anatomy, could it be RuPaul then? Because he channels a woman. He ain't one, but he channels one. Could RuPaul be the next? And I'm actually a fan of RuPaul. I'm a live and let live person, man. I hadn't said this in a while, but it bears repeating. When it comes to all those issues, it's real simple. I got an open mind, closed behind, man. I don't care, but I got my white privilege card here. If you hadn't seen it, a buddy of mine gave me that. It's a joke, by the way. But I guess what Biden is saying is white ain't right. As long as you ain't white, as long as you white, you ain't right. And so, bring out your dead, back to the Monty Python. We're just going to wheel old Breyer out. He can say whatever he wants. And you talk about Trump derangement syndrome. Think about this, and we'll close the show with this. How bad is Trump derangement syndrome when you're literally trying to oust the guy from the Supreme Court that votes your way simply because he might up and die a few years from now and Trump might get another shot? It is crazy, ladies and gentlemen. Well, I hope you've enjoyed the show as much as I've enjoyed bringing it to you. I hope you'll go to all of our social media sites, like them, share them far and wide. Please look at our sponsors like Big Daddy Unlimited. It helps you and it helps the show. Have yourself a terrific weekend. I know I'm planning to. Hopefully I'll show you some big fish pictures on Monday. I'll pray for your family. You pray for mine. God, let's pray for this nation because she needs it now and I believe deserves it more than ever. Certainly, I believe needs it. But above all else, like I say each and every day, from my heart, from my family to yours, have a blessed day. Thank you.